All right, so here's the problem. In our theorem, right, our theory is that infinite inputs equals infinite outputs. Seems very, very simple, but it seems like somebody has missed the ball when it comes to AI, right? But when you think about the AI tools that are on the web or that have access to the open web, those tools, when they crawl in response to your prompt, you like say, hey, I want to create a picture of a woman who's standing on the beach, right? And you get this crazy thing, and it's got peacock feathers, right, sprouting out of the woman's head, and it's got tentacles coming up out of the ocean, and the sky is all, has a giant eyeball in it, right? That's because the AI is looking at everything on the web, and it's trying to understand, based on your words and its references, which are infinite, what can I bring back and produce for you as a final image, okay? So our starting theory here has been that infinite inputs equal infinite outputs. We generated these off the wild web, these two pictures here, okay? As opposed to the results that we're seeing, right? Which is contained inputs equal contained outcomes. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this first. So we did do, we followed some instructions that we found on the web here. There's a very popular YouTube channel out there that has done a little series of AI-generated videos that's called Rock, Paper, Scissors, right? Or Rock, Paper, Shoot. Yep, absolutely. They're great. And so we went and purchased. They also have a course that teaches you how to do what they did. We went and purchased that course, trying to be completely legitimate and above board, being good Christian businessmen, good Christian creatives. We followed those instructions, and we liked some of the results that we saw, but they weren't consistent enough, right? And so what we did is we shot some video. This is actually some video of me. I can pull it up later if we have time, of me dressed up in a crazy costume in front of a green screen. So we shot some reference video, and then we worked for about 3 months to get these images as consistent as you see them here. These are still frame images, but as you can tell, there are some very specific things here that you can call out in terms of consistency, not only just overall consistency, from image to image, these all look very much the same, but also stylistically. We don't have one image that looks like a 3D model, and the next image looks like a 2D model, and the next image looks like a wax painting, right, or a wax figure. So we're trying to land stylistic consistency and then also overall consistency, because for us, our primary products that we create are animated products. And it's really hard to watch an animation where the character changes the way they look every frame or every 12 milliseconds. It begins to be very disturbing. And so we're trying to nail consistency. And so these are some of the outputs that we're seeing of our system, right? And we're seeing very, very consistent outputs. So we were encouraged, all right? So when we began this, what were our targets, right? So we wanted to start out with some goals in mind and try to understand specifically, if we're going to spend this time and money and effort, then what are we trying to achieve? So the first thing was what we were just referring to. Can AI deliver overall consistency and stylistic consistency? Really, really important for us. If you're in the space of making animation or comics or film, this is a holy grail. It's not the holy grail, but it's definitely up there. And it's one of the things that currently AI is having a lot of trouble with. Number 2, can AI be leveraged simply, legally, and ethically? All right, now we feel that part of our process is helping with this particular question. The fact that we are federating and segregating our data off the web, we can actually list the sources of information that we're putting into the system, that we can legally show that we either own those sources, the data sources or the images, or we've created them ourselves. We feel that gives us some legal standing that if we were called into court tomorrow, we could say, well, Judge, we're actually not using the tools on the web, and we can tell you exactly what our tools are using. So that remains to be seen. We'll talk about that in a bit too. But very, very important. But also here, there needs to be an element of simplicity, right? The AI tools on the web are so easy to use. As a matter of fact, we're using these tools every day right now, and many of us don't realize it. If you're typing into Google search and Google gives you a suggestion, guess what's driving that suggestion? AI. If you're composing an email, right, and that email suggests a word or a phrase to you to use instead of something that you might normally type, that's AI, right? So we have to understand that these tools are everywhere, and they're very, very native to us already. And so they're very simple. So if Brainy Pixel comes up with a solution that's really hard or complex or convoluted, it's never going to work, right? It might work for the eggheads that we're dealing with right now, right? They love this stuff. They eat and breathe this code, right? They absolutely are overjoyed to spend all day long in their basement writing code. But the normal everyday user, that's not them. So it's got to be simple. It's also for us, it's really important that ethical, right? As Christians, if we can't give a good account for the tools and the processes that we use to make something, then we're no better than the world. It's really, really important. Well, at least it's really, really important to us. Are there simpler, quicker, faster ways? Absolutely. But that's not something that we feel that one day we'll be able to stand before the Bema seat and give a good testimony about to our King. So as Christians, we feel we're called to do better. And right now, we'll see if it's harder or not. So we'll get to that in a moment. The third one, can a safe AI path be discovered and templated that can actually firewall IP, right? So IP here is an abbreviation you might not be familiar with. It's intellectual property. So there's a real, very fine line here, right? When you use AI to develop a new concept, like maybe you're coming up with a new idea for a show or a comic or maybe a character for your book, and you have AI generate that image for you based on your prompt, who is it really that generated the visual interpretation of that character, right? You didn't draw it. AI created it, but if you find one, you're like this cowboy here. I'd love to write comics about this cowboy, right? He's awesome looking, right? He looks really cool. But I didn't create him. AI created him. He was created in a response to a prompt that we entered into our system. So could I use, that in a show that I'm going to go pitch safely? I don't know. We'll find out. It remains to be seen. But that's a big question that we're trying to solve. Finally, if all of these come out yes, if all these three questions come out yes, are there still cost savings? Are there still schedule savings? Are there still both cost and schedule savings? That's a huge deal, right? It may not be it may not be a huge deal in the area of just casual using AI on the web, but from a production studio or a film studio, that is the million-dollar question. Maybe literally, right? Might be a multi-million-dollar question. So trying to understand the impact of these first three questions and how they drive cost and schedule is really, really important to us. All right. Is it easy? Absolutely not. As I said, we've spent 11 months working on this problem. And so far, trying to create this federated, separate system has really caused more heartaches and it's caused more headaches than it has solved. But we're seeing really surprising results, as you saw from the thing on the green screen earlier, right? Is it cheap? So far, no. We have found that it is not cheaper, right? Obviously, a lot of these AI tools in the world are free. They're probably moving away from that model, I would say, sooner rather than later. But right now, they say the first hit's free, right? So they're going to get us hooked on these things and we'll become dependent upon them, and then they're going to start charging. So the system that we're trying to create so far has not been cheaper, but we are encouraged with the results that we're seeing. All right, is it worth it? Maybe, right? We're going to see some of the results here in just a moment, but we think it might be. All right, so our results. Does it work? All right, so here are some examples, and these are some videos, and I can pull these up, although I'll have to drag them over because I'm not sharing my screen right. So these are some examples that we've done, and I'd like to pull a few of these up and show them to you, and we can see if what we think, if they're worth the trouble. So this first one, you guys will tell me if y'all can see that on the screen. Excellent. All right, so the first one, we actually generated this particular AI using a 3D model. So one of the test here was that we wanted to understand how we might fly a camera through an AI-generated space based on just a pretty basic Blender 3D model. We wanted to see how the camera did with objects as it passed them, because one of the things you have to understand with AI is if it's out of frame, it's out of mind. Really important to understand, right? AI doesn't care about anything that's not within whatever frame you're giving it to generate. It no longer exists, so it can't be referenced, all right? So really, really important. So you can tell us what you think. Obviously, we wanted it stylized, so we did kind of this crazy candy world. These are very short, so I'll play them a couple times. But I think in terms of overall consistency, passing past this castle here on the right, it stays pretty consistent. We were pretty happy with it. We get a little bit of what we call fluttering. Don't know if there's a real term for that yet, but where the top is kind of changing and moving a little bit. So we were pretty happy with that one. Okay, and so here's an origami example. Much better consistency, but we believe that's because it's using shapes that are more similar to the 3D style. All right, so what we wanted to do here is we wanted to do a test where we had created a more complex environment. This was based off of just an initial illustration. And then we wanted to make sure that we're trying to maintain the finer details. So the specific finer details that you might want to notice are these little stick things. Again, we're not sure exactly what those stick things are. AI added them in, but they became really cool references that we could track consistency as we flew through. So we're doing just a slow push here into this little village, and not a lot of fluttering, so we were pretty happy with that. So, and the little stick guys are staying pretty consistent. And so we wanted to then do another pass. This pass, we wanted to make things a little harder, and this is one of the things we're always trying to do. We're always trying to push the envelope. So this is the same village, you'll see, but we said, what happens if we add a tower in the background, and then we try and zoom in on that tower with just a couple of camera passes inside of AI, okay? So we're going for two things here. Remember, we weren't sure that AI could handle a really good camera pass. And then two, we wanted to maintain consistency on two things. One, the village, but then also that tower. And I think you'll be impressed with kind of what happens here. A little bit of fluttering on the village, really nice camera pass. The tower's looking really, really firm. And we get that consistency, and then one more pass, and we get to see the top. All that was in AI. Right, very, very impressive, at least in my opinion. So we were very happy with that. So then we wanted to take some of the me dressed up in the revolutionary gear, the garb, and we wanted to do a stylized version of that. These are really short, so more of a comic-y style. I want you to pay really close attention to this bandolier thing that I'm wearing, or that this guy is wearing, because it's not me anymore, it's that guy. But anyway, pay really close attention to that. That thing gave us nightmares, right? But I want to see how consistent it winds up being in this now comic style. Again, this is kind of the Culture Crew kind of style, right? We're following that, but we actually, we think, improved upon that process a little bit. What we discovered here, and this is some of the secret sauce, so if you're taking notes, you might want to write this down, is that it is very, very helpful to create, if there's anything that's giving you problems in terms of consistency, create a LoRa just for that object or that item, right? Again, that LoRa is that very specific, over and over again, tailored instructions on how to render this thing, or how to tie your shoe, as our earlier example. And so when we do that and we combine them with our prompts, we see that it really helps kind of nail that consistency across the board. Yeah.
Does that take form of just like lots of pictures of that thing, different angles?
It's essentially a visual database that has some code connected to it. So, all right, and the last one, this is more of a kind of a feature film look. And we just wanted to do a high-end render of a very kind of cinematic pass of this young girl. We want a little ambient glow around her. We want to see her hair moving, and so we were pretty happy with this. So, little too much flutter in her eyes. You see her eyes kind of vacillating. They're getting larger and smaller a little bit. But I think we could tune that up with a LoRa. So we were pretty happy with this. And again, the quality here is just insane, right? And this is right out of the AI. So those were our examples.